asked ChatGPT, give me the top 10 jobs that AI could never replace. It said these exact words, face-to-face personal trainer. It didn't say online coach.
If you're fully booked with one-to-one sessions or are close to it, and you're on the edge of burnout, or you might be already in it, then the move to a hybrid model might be a smart move. Done right, you can double your income, reclaim some energy, and help more people without adding more and more hours to your diary. The Velocity hybrid model is a perfect blend of intimate, in-person coaching and comprehensive remote support. Let's dive in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good night. That's the end.
See you later. Welcome to episode 65 of the Velocity podcast. We always start with asking how the other one is. So how are you?
I'm tired, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I think sometimes you watch podcasts and you think, do you know what? You sound like you've got so much energy, and we'll give you the best we can in this. But yeah, I'm tired. We had a big session this morning, and it was quite a late night last night with a squash match. But I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Good. So if you're listening or watching this, you would have just been through a little intro about the idea of hybrid coaching.
Yes.
And it's something that we have created our own Velocity version of.
Yes.
Probably a good way to start this is to frame who it is that we help and who it is that this podcast is really aimed at.
Yes.
A nice way to sort of set this up.
Very simple. We help in-person personal trainers who typically are based in gyms or studios, sometimes remote and outdoors.
Yeah.
And we help them, we take them fully booked and beyond, which sets up the context for hybrid, because we believe that the best route, if you like, to stardom and success, however we define that as a personal trainer, is to first get fully booked. But hybrid is something we designed for a trainer that's got fully booked, that's maxed out their time. It's a really natural, smooth next move in their journey to earn more money, as I said, reclaim some energy, and impact more people.
Nice. I think the thing that we hear about a lot with personal trainers that are close to or fully booked, or they feel a bit overwhelmed and they feel a bit lost, they don't really know where to go next, is they naturally think, I need to go online.
Yep.
And that's totally fine if that's what you're good at.
Yes.
If you are, more interested in digital marketing and selling product.
Yeah.
But usually the thing that got you in that position, the skill set that you've developed, that's the thing that got you there. Yeah. What we want to do with this model and what we're going to explain today is tell you how to take that skill that you've already crafted and developed and that people know you for. You're known in the area for being great at what you do. It's how to leverage that, right? So tell us what does hybrid actually mean for us? What is it all about? So
I'm going to start by saying what it's not, because I think the most common thing I hear, I don't know if there's anything else you've heard, but what people think is I do some in-person stuff for some people over here, and then I do some online for different people over here.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm running two services for different groups of people that are not interconnected.
Yeah, and it's like one wouldn't know necessarily that the other's going on, right?
Correct.
Like some people buy my online coaching package, some people buy my face-to-face.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not what we are talking about here.
And if we take typical one-to-one personal training, which we loved, we spent years in that career, we see that as an amazing first route. But hybrid is a really natural extension of that would ultimately replace the one-to-one model that you've built. So, and that one-to-one can still exist, but in a different format that we're not going to talk about today. But yeah, hybrid for us is actually a blend. It's one service that blends some in-person coaching and remote support. So if you like, it's a little bit like a blend of one-to-one personal training and online coaching. But as you said, like we want to give personal trainers the highest chance of success. And for most trainers, like success is, I want to be financially independent. So I want to earn, maybe you're up to 5K. We want to take you to 7, maybe 10, 15, and give you some really great disposable income, allow you to help even more people. But it will be different. It's not an online coaching thing. We want to keep you in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And to be able to go to those numbers, the model that was currently working for you can't continue. You're going to run out of time.
Yeah.
So the way that we help people initially craft this is by introducing them to the idea of the core and the periphery.
Yes.
Could you let us know a bit more about what that actually means?
Yeah. So in the context of one-to-one personal training, the core is the thing that gets attributed most value, and that is the time spent with the trainer in the gym or the studio or wherever you do your thing. And so we're talking about the one-to-one session. Now, for some people, maybe there are some small group PTs, classes, like these are also the core, the main thing that people buy into. But as personal trainers, we know very well that in order to get the best results the fastest, we need some other stuff. And the other stuff we call the periphery. And so you imagine I've got the core, which is maybe a circle or a sphere. And then you've got the periphery, which is stuff around it, like the shell, right? And that's what holds everything together and creates great results. So examples of the periphery might be programming, or it might be messaging or check-ins or a community or some resources. This is, collectively is what we know as the periphery.
I think the difference between certain things that you would do anyway as a face-to-face coach only, supporting your clients in the right way, and when you move to the hybrid model is how smart or comprehensive those periphery things are.
Yes.
And a great example of that is the check-in. Like we train our coaches on how to do a really comprehensive check-in that ultimately is valued by the customer at the same level as a face-to-face session would. And it's in that particular environment, you can tackle everything regarding lifestyle, nutrition, mindset. You can tick all of those boxes without you needing to physically be there in the gym with someone.
Yeah.
So that when you are in the gym, you can just focus on the training. Yeah. And that's how to make it much smarter, much more elevated, much more complementary to the goal that they're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. Okay, so it wouldn't be right to come on a podcast and you not use a metaphor.
Yes.
So tell us the metaphor that you have for hybrid coaching.
Yeah. So one-to-one personal training is a little bit like riding a bike. So when you qualify as a PT, it's like learning how to ride. You take your stabilizers off, and I can ride a manual bike.
Which, by the way, is an epic moment when your kids first do that.
Yes.
You've got that to look forward to.
Yeah, I do.
It's like a mixture between, am I going to be going to A&E, or are we going to be celebrating?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea with it is that you can, with the bike, you can go places. It's an amazing tool. Like, it's an incredible advancement in technology for humans. So that speaks to like personal training. It's amazing. You can do great things with personal training, and there's a place for it. Once you've decided that I want to do more with that mode of transport, you can upgrade to an electric bike. And this is the idea where we're going to take advantage of a bit of technology here. But still fundamentally have the pedals and the gears and the handlebars, so I can still get on the thing and ride it. It's manual, and I'm like, it's a high touch experience. Like, I can ride and feel the wind in my face, and that's analogous, or it's like one-to-one personal training, being in the gym, in the studio with a client, watching them get their first pull-up. Doing the hands-on cues to show them how things should be done and how they should feel. One of many elements as to why we love the in-person experience. That's
the core, right? So the core of the bike is the handlebars, it's the wheels. Like, that's still there on a electric bike.
Exactly. But the electric's got a bit of technology which can give you a boost. It can help you go faster, cover more ground in less effort. Right? You're still putting some effort in. You're not relinquishing and letting go of all the stuff that got you to move in the first place. But we're using technology and a smart amalgamation of that technology to do more with less.
I think the point here is that we're using technology to add to what you're already good at.
Yes.
What we're not doing is replacing what you're already good at. And that's where, the statistics of failure rate from coaches going from face-to-face to online coaching is incredibly high. I mean, it's high 90s in terms of a percentage.
Yes.
That's because you're not taking the skill that you've spent the last X amount of time crafting and developing it. You're trying to go into a completely different business model. That's why I love this hybrid for our coaches. And we've seen so many of them do so well.
Yeah.
We've seen coaches pretty quickly double their income without working any more hours.
Yeah.
But I think the other element to this, which is quite cool, and it's quite sort of prominent right now in 2025, is the world of AI that is developing. And I think that interestingly, I told you this the other day.
I was gonna prompt you to say it.
Yeah.
No pun intended there, but yeah.
I asked ChatGPT. I gave it like a fake question, and I said, "I'm going to get a different job because I'm worried that AI is going to replace my current one."
I hope you weren't being serious about this.
No,
he's about to leave.
I think we're okay for now.
Yeah.
But I said, give me the top 10 jobs that AI could never replace. And it sort of said, smart move, totally get it. And then in the top 10, it listed it said these exact words: face-to-face personal trainer. It didn't say online coach. And I think that's a real issue.
Yeah.
We had this big surge of online coaching in COVID, which we've now seen a massive U-turn on. You know, our coaches are busier than they've ever been, and people crave that human touch and interaction. And I think part of that is, you know, people more and more, and it's only going to get worse, aren't going to know if they're talking to an AI robot or a person.
100%. You look at the technology advancements in, you know, the deep fake thing of like producing videos, which you couldn't tell the difference between a person and a, you can have your voice. This is a very accessible technology now. Your voice and your as well as your image can be totally matched so that you can just type into something and then it would speak your voice. And so what's going to happen is that in the online world, it's going to become really hard to differentiate what's real and what's AI created. And so, yeah, it comes back to the power and influence and significance that you can have in person with those high touch elements is only going to go up in this day and age.
Yeah. People, when it's something as serious as their health and fitness, when it's a human connection that they want, because it's an emotional thing, isn't it? You know, they don't want to lose weight. They want the feeling that they get from feeling more confident in their body.
Yes.
And that needs another human being to truly, deeply understand that and understand why they're struggling and what it is that they're going through. That will never be replaced by AI. So by holding on to that core in hybrid, it kind of protects us from that, as well as helping you keep the skill set that got you in a position where you're kind of ready to do this anyway.
Yeah.
So let's move on. One of the things that we talk about with hybrid coaching is that you would move into this because you've done very well in your one-to-one or your main service component, and it's nearly fully booked. And so time is becoming in shorter and shorter supply, and you're struggling a little bit maybe to find the balance. So we've got a couple of different options with hybrid coaching that gives people time back, gives them options depending on how they want to live their life.
Yes.
Talk us through that.
So yeah, we have to, I want to describe it perhaps a little bit through the client's journey for a second, and then I'll kind of look at it from the trainer's point of view. So what we find with hybrid is that we actually break this down into 2 or 3 phases that a client goes through. Because usually when a client comes to a trainer, they need more support up front. Now, separate to this, we have another service or another tier that we would plug into someone doing hybrid called a hero program. And in short, that basically is a more intense upfront time spent with the client one-on-one. So you might do 2 sessions a week for a number of weeks to kind of lay the foundations, get the habits in play, teach the stuff, get them comfortable, teach them the program. And now they're like, cool, I now know what to do. I've got some confidence. I've got some self-sufficiency. Right?
And that's like typically 10 to 12 weeks we suggest, right?
Exactly. So yeah. And that would be a short-term defined period of time. There's a clear end to it where we're going to graduate, and this is the language we like to use. We're going to graduate from that, and that will prepare you for the next phase in the journey that we know as hybrid. We would call it something different based on the client and the type of people they work with. And that's when they would get into the hybrid flow, which is the new MRR, recurring revenue service. And so when it gets to that phase, we've got a couple of options, because what we typically do is the trainer is going to see the client once or twice a month, rather than once or twice a week. And that's the shift. And the gap that's left is filled by a strong periphery that we talked about earlier. And so then you think, okay, well, it's up to you really when you have those in-person sessions. And two popular options is that you can front load the calendar month with all of your in-person stuff. So you can do a couple of busy weeks in the gym or studio, and then you've got freedom in the 3rd and 4th weeks. And that means that people can, have a much quieter, second half of the month. People that want to travel and be a bit more mobile in where they work and live, they can do that.
I remember one of our coaches doing that actually. When they moved to hybrid, they sort of did all of their sessions in the first 2 weeks of the month, and then they went to a different European country for the final 2 weeks of every month. And that gave them the lifestyle that they wanted to have without having to move away from the thing that they were really good at.
Exactly. And the other way, of course, is that you don't do that and you just spread them naturally through the month. And that gives you then an option. You can either maintain a level of roughly an income that you're at, but work a lot less. Or you can, because your in-person involvement in the service is much less, you can double, essentially. Like if you're going from 4 sessions a month to 2, then you can double the work that you're doing in the hybrid scenario, which would effectively double your income if the price is the same.
Yeah.
So that's where the double your income bit comes from.
Nice.
And yeah, it gives you options.
So you can work less hours, you can make more money, you can spend more time outside of the gym.
Yeah.
The key thing here, like the natural skepticism, is why wouldn't I have to charge a lot less for that? So the key thing to help us understand the answer to that is absolutely no. And we've got, lots and lots of case studies to support that.
Yeah.
Is the difference between like the support and the features of what you do and the result that you get people.
Yeah.
And really what your lead prospect, new client, what do they really care about?
Yeah. So a useful thing to think, if we had a spectrum of like brand new trainer just qualified and all the way through to someone who's got a decade or two of experience, when we start, what we've got on our side is time and energy. And so when you take a client on in the early days, you'll do anything and everything for them manually. And that's exactly what we recommend you do.
Yeah.
You've got time, that's your asset, use it. Now, as you get busier, which is obviously the context of hybrid, you have less time, a bit more money than you had, but you have a lot more knowledge and experience of getting certain kind of results. And so what we transition to is, rather than focusing on selling time, like I'll go and research that for you. I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm going to go and find out. I'm going to write a program just for you, Jane. By the time you get to fully booked status, you've got a lot of these assets or these resources, programs you've written, PDF checklists that you've created based on the experience that you've accrued over the years. And so what happens is, if you play your cards right, you'll end up having a much stronger periphery, all designed and built around the results that you get for people, around the problems that you solve for the clients that come on board. And so the way that we sell, the way that we market as well, changes, because we can talk much more about the result that we can facilitate. We don't guarantee results because we don't do the work, they do. But we'll be able to show through proof and evidence, these are the results that I get. And the truth is that people will buy for the result they're going to get with you way more than they will for the things they'll get. And so I think that shift happens because when you start out, you don't really know. You don't have huge confidence that you're going to get those results because maybe you're the only case study that you've got. But as you collect that evidence and that proof, it'll build confidence, and then you can actually sell the result a lot more. And that changes the complexion of how you sell.
And I think when you describe it like that, any coach that's been a coach for more than a year will get it, because there are those clients. I mean, we were both coaches for 15 years. There are those clients that see you twice, 3 times a week, face to face, and get absolutely nowhere. Yeah. Because they do that 45, 60-minute session and that's it. Yeah. Personal training, health, fitness, it goes out the window, and then they come back the following week. Yeah. And it's copy and paste. It's fucking boring as a personal trainer. You're almost checking, like, are you sure you want to do this? Because we're not seeing, it's a crazy thing, but people do it. They just like the idea of having a coach, I think, sometimes. Yeah. But what I'm trying to get to is, the only way you're really truly going to help someone is by doing those periphery things. Now, as a face-to-face coach, you're going to have some stuff. You might have a few resources or a community, but it's not going to be a major focus. So you're going to end up spending a lot of your face-to-face time, if you're a good coach, actually sat down with your client, walking them through their nutrition, talking through changes, lifestyle, doing some reviews with them on how they're finding their training, and, are they coping with the nutrition? Do we need to strip it back? Do we need to move it forward? You don't really need to be, once you're good, once you're experienced, you don't really need to be with the person to do that. That's where the check-ins can come in. That's where the extra resources can come in. So just like you said, as you become better and better equipped over time, you build up this huge library of valuable stuff that's going to actually help the person get the result. Yeah. And then you keep the training in there as well, because that's the core. There's a lot of value to that. It just goes together so well. Yeah. So let's go back, almost back to the start. I'm a personal trainer. I'm pretty busy. Mm-hmm. I'm nearly fully booked. I don't really want to go online, because I appreciate that the thing that got me here is my face-to-face services, my relationships with clients and people. And I'm quite well known in the area, but I don't really want to throw my hat in the ring with the competition of the rest of the world. Mm. What would be the first kind of actionable steps that I could take to help me start considering moving in towards a hybrid model?
For us, what we do is we audit, or we review the core and the periphery. So you say to yourself, I know what my core is. It's my one-on-one sessions in the gym. That's my bread and butter. I feel really confident there. What we want to do is pose a question or a scenario where, imagine you had to half that. Like, you could only spend 50 or 25% of the time that you would need with that client. What problems would magnify and arise by you not spending as much time with them? The other thing we had is we wanted to stop them being such a parrot, right? So part of our training was, what things are you repeating all the time? What things have you said or shown, demonstrated to multiple clients, the same stuff that you think, why do I need to say this? Like, I've perfected it now. I know exactly what to say, how to say it, what to share, what they need to do. I've even created little guides for people, but I've never stepped back and created a resource and an evergreen resource that could teach that thing. And so what I'm saying is we review the periphery. What stuff do I already have that I've created for clients in the past that I could use to bolster, to strengthen my periphery, that I would sell as part of the hybrid package overall. And if we can figure out where you are now, maybe your periphery, you'd score it a 5 out of 10. This is pretty likely. You've often got a few things, but you know a few things are missing. We plug those gaps and we try and come up with MVP, which we love, the minimum viable product of hybrid that you could put to market, put to some leads, make a campaign around and test. So I think it's that initial, let's look at what you've got. Let's look at the gaps of what's missing. Let's plug them as quickly as we reasonably can. And let's test. Because no one's got the right answer. Like, the only best way to get the actual feedback to know whether you're ready for this is to actually try it and do some learning along the way.
Yeah. I think that's really important, because you've got to be able to see evidence. You've got to look at it and go, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Because if you don't believe in what it is that you're selling, you're not going to sell it. The second thing is we want to create some excitement. This is a big step, and we've literally seen coaches in 6-month periods double their revenue, and coaches reduce their working time to do that as well.
Yeah, buzzing,
which is amazing. How could we create that excitement before you go into it regarding the structure of the week?
Yeah, we've got a few tools that we've created, but the simple back of fag packet maths, or napkin maths, where you could just look at and say, well, if I did charge the same and I was able to reduce my delivery by 50%, what would I do? What would that mean? Because you could literally take your fully booked status now and times it by 2 and say, wow, what if I was earning that? And you could do some time playing with the calendar as well. We have a training we created called The Perfect Week, which simply says, let's imagine what my week would look like if it were quote unquote perfect for me, for my life. And take away all the barriers of why that might not be true or possible, and flip the coin and say, well, what if it was possible? What if it was true? What if I just needed some time and a few tactics and tips and tricks to be able to make the shift that I wanted? And so, we talk a lot about starting with the end in mind and imagining what my life could be like, and accepting that fully booked is not the end, it's just the beginning. And it's going to set up a lot of opportunities for, as we said originally, more income in less time with less energy spent, and helping more and more people. It's
just getting that next step in place, doing it at the right time, building it in the right way, and then getting it out there and selling the outcome.
Yes.
Rather than the amount of time that they're going to physically be in the room with you.
Yeah.
So there are a few steps to it. One of the things that we wanted to do to help people listening or watching this make it a bit easier is to give them a hybrid coach checklist.
Oh yeah, we've got a really good checklist. Yeah.
So this is just gonna guide you through the steps that you need to follow. So if you want to get that, if that sounds interesting and you feel like you're kind of in and around this position where you're considering hybrid, there's a link in the description to get to my Instagram. Just click there, drop me a follow if you want, and then little plug.
See your face.
And then just send me a message that says hybrid, and that'll tell me that you're looking for that checklist, and I'll send it across to you in the DMs. You can check it out, and it's very simple. We want to start simple, and it will just guide you through the key things that you need to do to take you from where you are now in one service that's taking up too much time to starting to build the framework of a hybrid coaching business that is going to do all those amazing things that we've just been talking about.
In summary, get an electric bike.
Get an electric bike. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, watching. Catch you soon.
See ya.